No, it was a great year for us, especially the last 6 months. We announced some partnerships on both sides of the border. We have partnership with all those partnerships. There's a significant room to grow. Most of those are very well-established companies.
All right, welcome back inside our proactive newsroom. And joining me now is Ash Guglani. He's the president of Next Innovations. And Ash, welcome back. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you. Happy New Year.
Yeah, happy New Year to you as well. And the company's put out a news release, in essence, a corporate update on just what's happened in 2024 and really what's ahead in 2025. Let's start with the latter first in 2024. It was a very transformational year for the company.
Yeah, no, look, it was a very busy year for us. We've made a lot of movement, not just on production and getting our sales going with some good partners, but more importantly, we've really got our patent portfolio in order to protect us as well as to show really the capabilities of the company as we look at some other sectors later this year. But no, it was a great year for us, especially the last 6 months. We announced some partnerships on both sides of the border. We have partnership with all those partnerships. There's a significant room to grow. Most of those are very well-established companies. So, no, we're excited. I think this year you'll continue to see Next execute on the coffee front, and I think this year you'll maybe see Next look at some other product segments that we're getting some interest from and doing some prototyping for right now. So we're excited about what's coming in 25.
Yeah, you mentioned the partnerships. EcoBean's obviously a big one, Bridgehead another one, but EcoCups was an interesting one because it got you onto an Amazon retailer. It gets you that U.S. Exposure as well. There were some significant strides on not only this side but the U.S. side of the border as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, EcoCups is a really good partner for us. They've got over, I think it's 50 SKUs, all selling online. That's something that they do really well. They're a high volume seller on Amazon as well as their own website. So no, it's a great partnership, and that's the other thing. I think between what we announced in Canada and in the US, we've covered a lot of different distribution channels. So our audience is really growing for our pods, and I think you'll continue to see that with some of the other things we're working on, as well as you'll continue to see products expansion with some of these partners as we get into 25.
And Ash, I guess that's the key is when you have ownership, as you mentioned that really you really worked hard on doing that in 2024, that resin technology can be explored well beyond coffee. And that's the key to this, I guess, also.
Absolutely. I think sometimes not just ourselves, but our investors always look at us as a coffee packaging company. Well, we're a lot more than that. We are the way I look at it ourselves is we're an innovative, sustainable materials company. And I think this year you'll see that come to fruition with some of the other things we've got that we're working on outside of coffee. But coffee was a good one for Next because it was a challenging one, and the different atmospheres and environments that a coffee pod has to go through, including through one of those machines with high heat and water pressure. You're not going to see that with other products. So I think what we've learned from coffee and the infrastructure we've built and the capital investment we've made, we're set for a really big year here, Steve.
Yeah. And lastly, I just want to, in the news release, you also talk about you did have your own Next brand, and that is going to sort of go a bit by the wayside because you've got these deals in place with companies that are already so far ahead where that product line would be. It's a smart move from the company to partner with people who are already doing what you want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, we're not marketing experts. We don't want to get into the coffee pod business. We don't want to compete with our customers. There's enough of them out there. There's 80 billion plus single serve pods consumed every year and still growing after 20 plus years at a rate of almost 7%, which is amazing. So you don't need Next coffee. You just need the Next technology to really bring back the environmental consciousness to the single serve to the single serve industry, and I think that's what we're going to really do this year.
Yeah, and lastly, just on the company itself, you had talked about sort of the deals and partnerships, but there's also the manufacturing side of it as well. And I know you put a lot of work in the last couple of years to really get that to a point where you feel like it's really sort of moving where it should be.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's been the biggest driver. We're starting to work with well-established companies because we're confident in our manufacturing capabilities. So we're very confident in everything we could produce and we could scale. And the partners we have, there's a significant room to scale with all of them. So I think we've got a lot of good partnerships for coffee, and let's see where things take us this year in 25 outside of coffee.
All right, it's going to be a fun year for sure.
Yeah.
Ash, thanks so much. Good update. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, Ash Gaglani, the president of Next Innovations.